we're getting better.
The City of Marine City Commission meeting is called to order on Thursday, June 1st, 2023 at 7:15 p.m. Can we have a moment of silence to send our positive thoughts and prayers to those in our community that need our support? Now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Bryson.
Here.
Mr. Hendrick.
Here.
Mr. Hopbrink.
Here.
Mr. Clausen.
Here.
Mr. Roerig.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Here.
City Manager Atkins.
Here.
Okay, and Attorney Davis will not be with us this evening. And item 4 for approving the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the following revisions. We're going to remove 8A and 8B. Those will come in next meeting. And then on the second page, for 14A, the closed session, that's for the POAM and the Teamsters, both unions. And we're going to remove B, 14B.
Support.
Okay, a motion and a support. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now we're on a public comment. Anyone is welcome to address the commission. Please state your name, limit your comments to 5 minutes. Commission will not respond, but will follow up as necessary. Anybody like to speak? Mr. Walker?
Good evening, Commissioner and Madam Mayor. Thank you so much for giving me the time to speak today. This will be the last time I'm here to address this issue. I think you've seen my face and heard my voice enough. But I want to reiterate, because it's on the agenda, the idea of bringing a pot shop with edibles in our community with children makes no sense. I'm not going to go over all the figures. Hopefully, we've had 6 months of discussing this, and you've done due diligence, and you've looked on the internet, and you've looked up research and things. And there's no doubt that marijuana is a gateway drug. Recently, I've had 2 parents come to me. I can't release their name. They don't want it to be public, but they lost children in their 30s from fentanyl overdoses, and they started smoking marijuana early in high school. That's just 2, and the national figures are 80 to 100,000. So we have a drug issue in this country. I'm asking you to do a very small part. I understand you're not going to win the drug war, so-called drug war, over this ordinance, but you can make a difference that when people come into our community, like they did for the Memorial Day Parade, they're not going to drive past a pot shop and their kids aren't going to say, what is that? We're not going to have teachers in the school wondering why kids are spaced out after lunch because they're eating edibles. You can make a difference. It's really important that you support the idea of our kids. They're the most vulnerable in the community. Again, I'm not going to rehash all of the figures and things that we've talked about, but it's really important that you do due diligence, think about what you're doing, protect the most vulnerable people in our community, and also your politicians. Think about what's important for our community, not what's important for politics, not what's about money, but what's about our kids. And remember that we're a democracy, and people get politically, you get accountable for what your votes are and what you do. So I think this is a big issue in the community, and I really expect your support for not having a pot shop. And the nice thing is, you don't have to do anything. We already have an ordinance. So I really suggest that you don't, just because there's threats of a vote, or they're going to go out in the community, that's going to blackmail you or threaten you to go ahead and pass an ordinance, regardless of how many feet it is. I think that's sending the wrong message. So I won't be here anymore to talk about this. I got a grandchild. I have some people with medical issues in my family, so I won't be back to talk about this again. So really think about that when you make your vote. And I want to mention real quickly, I was really impressed with the parade, and I've been in the parade many years, and I want to personally thank our DPW, whether it was the new guy or the old guy, they did a nice job. And also our police chief was out there in the community and passing his hot dogs out, and that was very cool to see that. His officers were well-dressed and did a great job. It's part of Marine City. It's who we are. It's the waterfront, it's down there, it's having kids, it's having family. It's one of the best events that we do, and I want to thank the community so much, and obviously the city. You guys did a great job. Now I want to change that. I want to talk about, as a member of the VFW, I've been a member of the VFW in Algonac and Marine City for, well, I think probably 30 years or more, and I want to read this letter real quick as a VFW member. To the Marine City Council members, thank you for the wonderful yet solemn Memorial Day celebration in our beautiful waterfront park. I think it's important to acknowledge the service members of Marine City who gave their lives in service to our city, state, and country. Although their members tragically never returned home to their loved ones and country, their fight for our freedom is never forgotten and lives on in our memories. Thank you for ensuring these brave individuals continue to be honored during Memorial Day and throughout the year. I want to read the people who gave up their life, who are real heroes. Not the people that we celebrate that are athletes and entertainers and maybe some politicians and other people that we call heroes. These are really heroes. In World War I, Henry Barshaw, William Lawrence, Emily Hund, William Reagan, William Sharp, and Ward Barshaw gave up their life in World War I for our country. In World War II, Benjamin Lyons, Robert Britz, Donald Jones, Robert Emick, Leo Fagauger, Clarence Shutt, Harold Miller, Oswald Pauls, Hillary Elizabeth, William Lindau, Albert Hart, Charles Britton, Charles Henson, and James Flunger. I'm really sorry for mispronouncing some of these names. I'm sure I probably am. In the war in Korea, Benjamin Shaver, Robert Springborn, Lavender Dodge. In Vietnam, Robert Emery, Dwight Ritchie, Donald Winokur, Robert Brawl, and Robert Donnells. In Afghanistan, Shane Ryford. These are guys that all gave up their life that never came home, and that's important that we recognize them. That's why I wanted to come to the City Commission and make sure that the people knew these names. They're on the monuments down there. People get a chance to go down and say some prayers for us, and obviously prayers for their family. And again, thank you so much to the city and our department heads for putting on a very good memorial parade. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else? No.
Well, Polakchak, I've been mainly silent on the marijuana issue. Now I actually want to speak on it a little bit. I respect every person that's come up to this podium, given their side, whether they're for it or whether they're against it. That's part of your rights and everything. I respect everyone that has spoken. However, I want to say on the marijuana issue, at first, I would have loved to be able to see this commission put it on the ballot, come up with an ordinance. We're working within Michigan's laws, everything else, put it on the ballot. However, Attorney Davis gave a presentation that advised that that's more of an advisory type issue and we can't necessarily throw that on the ballot. When it comes to the marijuana, personally, I'm not, for it. I don't smoke the substance. That's by choice. However, what I do not want to see in this city is us get blindsided with ballot initiative. Sometimes when you get into ballot initiatives with language, you don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what's going to get approved by the state to go on the actual ballot for people to vote on. I would say at this point, I think the city would actually have more control over the issue if they worked within the frameworks of the laws, everything right down to what can come in, how it can come in, right down to enforcement, come up with an ordinance allowing it, just for the fact that it would take the ballot initiative off the table. It would be open-minded to that business in a sense, and it would give the city an avenue not to necessarily get blinded with a ballot initiative. That's how I feel on it, and that's what I wanted to state today. And I respect all sides on the issue. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else for public comment? Okay, hearing and seeing nobody else, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the city commission meeting minutes of May 18th, 2023?
So moved.
Support?
Okay, a motion and a support. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And can I have a motion to approve the special meeting minutes on May 18th, 2023?
So moved.
Support?
A motion and a support. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that carries. Moving on to item 7, the consent agenda. We have the 300 Broadway Committee meeting minutes from April 24th, 2023, the Planning Commission meeting minutes, April 10th, 2023, the special event permit for Empowered Nutrition Father's Day 5K, and the special event permit for Battle of the Bands 3. And in full transparency, I am a member of the Lions Club under the event permit for Battle of the Bands 3, and I am the one that completed and submitted the event application.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda items A through D.
Support.
I have a motion and a support. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yep.
Commissioner Hofrank,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Moving on to item 8C for the engagement of audit services. And can I have a motion to approve the engagement of audit services agreement with the firm McBride and Manley as presented?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and support, and now discussion.
They're great. They've done it. I can't even count how many years in the past. Curtis is a local guy, great guy. Full support.
Do we have to add the two together? Do you need them separate, or how do you need these?
No, I think we can do them together as one.
All right. Yeah, I'd encourage people to read through the stuff that Curtis gives us, because there's a whole section here of all the things. I mean, our city manager's working diligently to try to get this resolved, but there's a lot of stuff that we still have to get done, and he's got some exhibits in here of the workload that he's up against to try to get this completed, and Curtis does do a great job. So I'll make a motion that we approve his engagement of services for the annual audit not to exceed $48,750.
Support.
We already had a motion.
There was a motion already.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't include the amounts, though. You have to include the amounts on the motions
Amend it to include the amount.
when you have amounts. So
I'll
it's
amend my
48,750.
motion to approve the engagement with McBride Manley for a value not to exceed $48,750.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I may provide a point of clarification. If you both consider, it would be approving the general audit not to exceed $42,250 and the special audit cost not to exceed $6,500 per program audit. I believe we're only going to have likely one, but just in case we have a federal audit, if you each wouldn't mind
So you
stating
do need
that.
it separate, sort of.
Yeah, I think you can still put
Need the
it,
cost separated in the.
yeah, you can still put it together, but separate the costs, yeah.
Okay.
So I'll recommend we approve McBride Manley for the general audit services not to exceed $42,250, as well as to do a single audit for federal grants, et cetera, not to exceed $6,500 per program audit.
Support it.
All right, so we have the amended motion and the support on the amendment. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hofrank,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. On to item 9A, the marijuana zoning maps.
I will do a lead-in, and then we have an expert from the Planning Commission as well. Commissioner, you've been provided copies of zoning maps as modified, meeting the requirement that's been put forth of 1,000-foot boundaries and parameters from residential, church, schools, and you also have 2 drill-down sections. You have the general map that shows the overlay of the 2, and then you have some sub-maps that have been included that actually show what the parcels in the 2 identified areas, where, according to the map, the uses would be allowed. So that's why you have these different versions again, and they should be marked in the key. But primarily, I think the importance is the drill down of the 2 subsections, showing what would be left as the allowable per the 1,000 feet.
What happened to the, was Plank Road determined not to be a good spot?
It's still there.
Right, but I thought we were gonna blow it up. That's what,
What's this one?
That's this one.
that's,
This is Plank Road.
This is Plank right here.
oh, okay, I was looking at the middle, okay.
Yeah, it's,
South to side.
some of it is a little tough to see, except on
Yeah.
the larger piece.
The other one is the Alger.
Yeah, this one's Alger.
Yeah, I'm finished. Mr. Moran may have a little more information from the Planning Commission.
I just want to make one comment. While it appears that we allowed for residential zoning in East China, we don't have anything showing residential zoning for Cottrellville. So I don't know how that impacts the one area up in the northeast corner, or north.
That's all
northwest corner.
residential farm.
Pardon me?
It's all residential farm.
Okay, but it doesn't show it on the zoning.
No, you want me to bring a map in
The
for you?
older map.
No, I'm not
Yeah.
disputing you, I'm just saying we show it as a courtesy for East China. We didn't include it as a courtesy for Cottrellville, so.
Okay.
That's the trailer park, which is residential.
So I was looking, on the county maps and, you know, pulling out the key and pulling out the ruler, and we're 500 feet and 1,000 feet. And, just want the commission to know that it is actually 1,000 feet from the plaza to the trailer park.
Don't forget, though, that big field in between, though, because I think.
No, I understand the field in between is residential. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
from the plaza to the trailer park is actually 1,000 feet.
Oh, okay.
So we wouldn't have any business within 1,000 feet of an actual house.
I don't believe that.
You don't believe that?
Nope.
Okay.
I do the zoning for Cotterville Township. And that piece goes back, farming, residential, goes right to the property line of the.
No, I know, but I'm saying from the plaza
I
to
don't-
the trailer park, not to the actual land in between. I'm saying from the plaza to an actual trailer is 1,000 feet.
But don't you have to go, since that field is residential, unfortunately, that's why
Yeah,
they're going
It's all residential.
the
behind
edge of
the
that 1,000 feet the other way.
No, I get it, but that's not, what I'm saying is that's not what the law, so in the way that New Baltimore did it is
Okay.
door to door. So we are able to,
You're bringing stuff into other communities I work in that has those ordinances. And so I'd like to know where you're getting all the stuff.
from their,
Not from my building department.
from the ordinance, it's right in the ordinance online, 300 feet, door to door.
No, it's from the property line.
It's not, though. I'm not lying to you. I do this. This is my research. This is what I'm working on for 6 months. I promise you, I wouldn't lie to you like you lied to me about the businesses you talked to last time.
I didn't lie to you. And I'm
I talked
not
to
getting
him.
that discussion.
All
I
right,
talked to him.
Chair Moran, did you have additional you wanted to
I
add?
don't have anything other than to answer questions, madam.
So the last time we kind of had these discussions, really the only opinions that I heard were from Bill. And Rita had mentioned maybe a 750 setback. So I just would really like to hear some more opinions on this before, like, we consider motions or what we're gonna do.
Well, I'll make my point. So, you know, I try to follow along with what the majority of the people want, and we did have a vote in this town of 60-40, 64 this. I am not for grows,
And that's fine with me.
and I don't think you need anything with the recreational part, because everybody in this town can grow 12 plants, correct?
Recreational is 98% of the business.
But everybody can grow their own, technically.
I mean, we're trying to
Technically,
we're
there-
trying to fill storefronts
I
and bring
understand
some
what you're
tax
saying,
revenue.
but when you have an economy like it is, people are gonna grow their own because of that. So the only thing I would be in favor of is a dispensary for medical reasons, for people that really need it for health reasons.
They don't separate those anymore. There's no such thing as a separation there. When they go up a dispensary, they either sell specifically recreational or they sell both. They don't just sell medical anymore because, like I said, 98%
Okay, well,
of the market.
I haven't seen that, so
You've seen what?
well, I'd have to read that for myself,
Read what?
that they've combined it. My understanding, it was still separated.
No. Last year, there was 200, God, I don't have the numbers because I didn't bring them with me, but last year there was $200 million in sales, and 98% of that was recreational. It's a very, very small percentage that's actually medical. So a dispensary that is just going to be allowed to do medical is just not going to work because it's the people that have
But most of the people in
cards.
this town, we're talking mainly medical. I mean, that's,
They still can enjoy the medical benefits.
yeah.
Of course.
I guess the problem you have is, I mean, this is nice, we're talking about this map, but we still have an ordinance that says we're not doing anything, so you gotta get around that first. And even if, you know, if you do the 1,000-foot, state law says we can't go any farther than 1,000 feet. So, that still allows 2 areas, and if they do a referendum, there's no way to stop that from coming in here,
Which,
in those 2 areas. Elger Street and here, if we went by the 1,000-foot.
okay.
So what I'm saying is if,
But what you can do is make a marijuana district. You can create a marijuana zoning district, which is something also that New Baltimore did.
okay, so what are the rules on that? I mean, you know,
I mean, we don't have Bob here to comment on, unfortunately, but yeah, that's another thing that New Baltimore did. They created a marijuana zoning district. So you can only have businesses in this district, and you define where that district is.
did you pull that from New Baltimore?
Yeah.
I mean, did you pull their ordinance out? Can you get that information to us? I mean, that's the kind of stuff, I mean, this is nice and all, but I mean, you're giving more information now that I don't have, but I'd like to read it.
Yeah, I believe, I thought I forwarded New Baltimore's ordinance to everybody months ago, but maybe not.
Remember that one?
It's all industrial, nowhere else except in the industrial district.
Yeah, people have to understand this, you know, the way this is set up, they would not be downtown. They would not be, it's gonna be very limited. The only other thing, though, that I've been reading is that the failure rate now with these it's going down. It's almost like we missed the boat on it, which you've been saying. But now, a lot of these places are not faring well, and a lot of people are getting out of it. I've heard of people getting out of the grows, getting out of all of it, because it's just not profitable anymore.
Yeah, just your comment earlier about people are gonna grow at home, it's actually not even, it doesn't make sense financially for people to even grow now, because it's so cheap just to go to the dispensary and get it.
Yeah.
I know
But I'm sure Jim can tell you,
numerous-
there's still people that are,
Oh, of course,
he's got them.
of course.
They're still growing what they want at home. I mean, I've gone by a house where the plant was sticking this far over the fence.
Yeah, outside in the summer, yeah, that would make sense, yeah. But
So, I mean,
inside with lights and stuff, it's not
You're
financially.
gonna have people, with the economy as bad as it is, if they think they can do it and they can do it cheap by growing their own, they're gonna. And I mean, the rule is what, 12 plants per person?
12 plants per household unless you got a medical card,
Okay, which you can't stop that at all.
right?
That's perfectly legit and legal right now, correct?
Right. I guess, I mean, what are the cons here?
if I could ask a quick question, talking about like tax, when City Manager Atkins might be able to point this out. So you've had experience with this in Roseville.
Correct.
And then I believe in some conversations we had, you said that some of like the bigger companies of these, they're actually buying up the business licenses in the newer communities that are bringing it on and will pay for that business license, but then never open up a shop. So then they're not seeing that state tax revenue back.
Unfortunately, in some communities, that is the case, where licenses are being issued through a process, and those that receive the license then choose to not develop the project. And if you're not building the project out, you're not getting revenue. Now, generally, what's going to happen in the next year is they're probably not going to get a recommendation for renewal of the license, but does that mean somebody else comes in and does it? That's the downside that can happen. And again, a lot of that took place on the medical side. You know, they were seeing it on the adult use side, which is the recreational piece as well. Unfortunately, there are businesses that do that they will, you know, follow every step, go through every process, be able to be approved, obtain a license, just to prevent somebody else from getting that license. I mean, there's some big corporate players that's their process of going through, unfortunately.
And that's pretty much so they can control things.
Yeah, I mean, it's just keeping the I mean, it's
Yep.
probably a good business move on their part. It's keeping the competition away, but
Correct.
it isn't helping the communities. on that
Correct.
part. There's no revenue other than the initial, you know, application fee and licensing, and that's, you know, that's not the portion of revenue that is intended to be derived from the businesses.
Even if they get their license, they still send state still sends a request out to the communities and ask if they're in violation of any ordinance. And if they're in violation of an ordinance or a blight ordinance or any ordinance that the city has, that the state can pull their license.
Correct. Yeah, ultimately, the local municipality is contacted by the state licensing agency for licensing initially and for review license to make sure that that business is in compliance.
So a lot of may happen, it may close, it may have a license bought up by a corporation, but what's a con?
I'm just, so, I'm not, just to be, I'll be honest, I'm for businesses, I'm for promoting, everybody knows that about me. I own a business in town, part of another business outside of town. I went on excursions and visited dispensaries. I went to all 3 in Baltimore, learned what a pre-roll was. I mean, I've told people that story. I just, and I've talked to council people in the other cities as well. Probably if it came down to a general vote, I would vote no. But I'm not opposed to putting something on the ballot and letting the people decide. I think that there's a difference between people voting to legalize it versus people wanting to have the dispensaries. But I also think that there are a number of people who would want it in town, and I know that you've been contacted by a majority of people who want it. Most of the contacts I have either been neutral or no. So I know Attorney Davis talked about having an advisory ordinance on a ballot wasn't good. He against that, but I believe he did talk about having something very specific on a ballot.
If it was like an actionable thing.
Actionable
that
thing,
said, you know, the community shall adopt this ordinance or something like
There's
that.
33 communities that put it on the ballot. Now, some were forced, some were not. But there's 33 communities that did it. So I know he said, oh, it'd be hard. 33 communities did it. Put it out there.
I think he just wanted us to make a decision.
Well, and some communities have done that to work with groups who were initiating a referendum.
Yeah.
And they were trying to strike a middle ground
Yeah.
Because again, it's what you know versus what you don't know, and what you have versus what you could have on a ballot initiative. So I think those are some of the communities that have been able to work to put something together that, again, very specific, saying it is allowed under these circumstances, these conditions, this area, this district. And that's what they've been able to do.
I mean, I'd like to see the people that be able to decide it themselves also. I mean,
Yeah,
if they vote again 60-40, then, but again, you gotta decide, your distances, what are your, that's what this is for. But again, this, we cannot go any more than 1,000 foot. So there's no way to completely eliminate it from the community if a referendum went in.
I
I don't know that that's,
would like to inject a comment as to that. There is, Attorney Davis said we can word the zoning so that it includes or stipulates 1,000 feet from any residence rather than a zoned area. So the chart shows simply the areas that are zoned residential. If you look down on Alger Street, there's a whole bunch of residences down there that are within 1,000 feet of that open area. And then if we include Cottreville as a courtesy, that's a residential farming area, that closes out that area as well.
Well, a lot of Alger Street is industrial.
Well,
this side.
on Alger and Bower Street, there are houses there.
No, on that side of the highway. On this side of the highway, it's all industrial.
Right.
yeah, but there's
But
still a
the-
house there, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
But
it
the-
doesn't matter. It's industrial, though.
I don't know what point you're trying to make, though.
The point is, those are houses there, and if we stipulate in the zoning that it's 1,000 feet from any residence, that includes those houses down there in that area.
But that's not what we have here.
Correct. What we have here is 1,000 feet from any zoned residence. So there's a difference there.
True, but that's what we're given. So if you didn't want to do it that way, we should have been given one that said the opposite.
Commissioner, I'm just providing information. It's for you to decide what you want to do with it.
So again, we can do door to door. If Davis, he told you we could do it from residence, so if that's the case, yes,
Well,
we can do it.
that's
door
what the
to door.
attorney advised. That's all I can
I
say
think
at this
what you're
point.
trying to say, Bob was saying was you can stipulate a residence. Whether or not he was saying the building or the property, I'm not sure, but my understanding of what you're trying to say is residence, even if it's maybe zoned business, right? That's what you're trying to say. That it's from residences, not zoned residential.
Yeah, residential property, whatever.
Right.
Door, that's pretty much what I meant, residential property.
It's a residential dwelling unit. That's what it's called.
Okay. So, my thing on this, I, like the mayor, had been chiefly reached out to by those against. And like Mr. Alexiak brought up, I didn't want anybody to be blindsided by this in terms of a potential ballot initiative that would maybe, in the case of, now I can't remember what municipality it was, but they.
Chesterfield.
Yeah, they approved an unlimited amount of facilities. In any case, so what I personally was hoping for is that by this exercise of applying, crude and universal setbacks to our properties, right? That we would come up with some magical area that would sort of make sense. And sadly, it kind of doesn't. The only place really is Plank, but again, if you say that Cottreville backs right up to that with residential stuff, right? That's East China's further north. Plank Road
Yeah,
is
this is-
adjacent Cottreville.
This is all Cotterville.
That's Cottreville, yeah. So in New Baltimore, you would never know that there's a facility in that town if you drove right, on M29. I honestly didn't know until, we got into all this. I didn't know before that. But anyway, it is in this, nice, small industrial area. It's out of the way. There are actually residences that, and this is, I think, why they had to do the residence to, or building to building rather than edge of property. But there's a huge wall in between where that is, because it was already an industrial complex. So whoever put the housing development there clearly realized that it was a, you know, people right next to an industrial area. But again, sadly, this did not reveal the magical spot in Marine City that, you know, is the obvious place to put this. So, you know, Mike wants Kmart Plaza. But my worry there is, you know, it is one of the first things that you drive past coming into town from the south. And you'd have, anything you do to go to VG's, you'd be driving past something. And I just worry, you know what, again, it's very clear that the owner of the plaza is interested in having any business there, which makes a lot of sense. But I certainly wouldn't want to negatively influence VG's if, you know, people would cease going there as a result of a facility being on their way to it. So again, just about everybody that reached out to me was against. So, and I even sought out people who I know partake in the substance, and their view for the majority of them was yes for it, not for a facility in town. There were two that said, I don't care, that'd be fine, and I don't see what the big deal is. So, I mean, I'm just being brutally honest about all the feedback I sought out and received from people in the community.
Yeah, I don't think putting one in the plaza, I mean, that's more traffic. That's bringing a lot more traffic and potential business to it. I don't think people are gonna like, hey, there's a dispensary in that plaza, let's not go to VG's. I mean, they're gonna catch the smell on them or something. It's a little weird. But, you know, 50-50 who showed up to the town hall. We had a 50-50 mix of people pro and against. We can't forget that. We can't forget the vote. We can't forget, I mean, a lot of people don't want to.
What vote was that, 50-50? Was that your?
No, town hall, when we added up the people that were pro and against, it was 50-50.
But where'd you add it up?
Letters, people that spoke, 50-50.
Well, you said you put it on Facebook.
What's that?
You did a.
No. This were the people that showed up here versus the letters
Yeah,
were 50-50.
yeah.
Commissioner Clausen, did you at a previous meeting, did you advise, or I thought maybe I remembered you saying that you had talked to some business owners in the plaza that said they would leave if there was one there?
Yes, I did.
Was that?
And I didn't want to reveal the names of them. So I get called a liar. I don't need to be called a liar.
I'm just telling you what I did. Lisa had said, was it one of the newer business owners? So that's what I did. I went and talked to all the newer business owners, and none of them saw you. And then I asked you personally what two businesses.
I'm not going to get into this with you.
I'm just saying. I asked you personally which two businesses said they were going to move, and you couldn't even tell me.
I'm not going to tell you which ones.
In private? It's pretty weird.
Where kids go.
That's one.
All right, anybody else have any other discussion or questions for Planning Chair Moran? Moran?
I'd like to see a vote too. I think that's the best, ballot vote.
Ballot, Rita?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said you'd just be up for letting it, if it goes to a ballot initiative, let it happen? Or you want us to make a proposal?
Well, we need to make a proposal of what we want to go on the ballot, yes.
Right.
So we can control it. If a ballot goes up and somebody else
So we don't get it with a
does,
referendum.
like
Sure.
Chesterfield, we don't want everything going up.
So like the attorney said, we can't just ask the question, do you or do you not want a dispensary?
Correct.
But we could make do you feel we should place a dispensary or
Well,
annex this area of the city to be available to make to put a dispensary?
well, whatever our ordinance would be, yes, with 1,000 feet or, you know, in what kind of area it could be. We've got to put all the stipulations, no grow, no production. I don't think we should have those, a dispensary. But it should be up to the people to decide that. But we should come up with the language for the ballot, not just, oh, do you want it or don't want it? No.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, specific.
Well, when we were here, and the reason that came up was the gentleman that's sitting back there in the corner, said if we didn't do something, he would put it on the ballot.
Right.
Correct.
So I'd rather
And
we
that's
put it
where-
on the
That's where
ballot.
the threat came in.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's better that we
It-
try to figure out what to do versus,
So I'm gonna make a motion,
But you said you had two people you knew, and you didn't tell anybody who they are.
I'm not even sure.
Okay,
what
never
you're-
mind.
I'm gonna make a motion that we direct the city attorney to craft an actionable ballot initiative to allow dispensaries in the city with setbacks of 1,000 feet from building to building with respect to residential zones and from schools, churches, and rehab facilities, and establish specified marijuana zoning districts if needed to be put on the ballot.
I'm sorry, what was the distance on those?
It's 1,000 from building to building.
And just dispensaries?
Yes.
he needs the support, though.
I think by virtue of the Michigan law, they're technically called retail facilities.
Okay.
I mean,
Marijuana retail facilities.
Well, Bob can,
Yeah, I mean,
he can get
We
all
need
the mumbo
appropriate
jumbo.
language. Yeah.
sure, so this would just be to have the attorney craft something.
this would be to direct the city attorney to craft actionable ballot language to allow dispensaries in the city with setbacks of 1,000 feet from building to building with respect to residential zones and from schools, churches, and rehab facilities, and establish specified marijuana zoning districts if needed to be put on the ballot.
And
Specialized marijuana zoning,
Yes,
that would be included in the 1,000. Basically, it's
if
more than
needed,
1,000.
if he needs to create these districts, if they're the right thing, if it makes sense for us to eliminate certain areas, or it makes it easier to keep them in one area, actually, is what I'm really, is if it makes it easier to keep them in one area, then he should be, you know.
But you're
able to
talking
do that.
building to building, and we're talking zoning district. Two different things.
The zoning district would still qualify under the 1,000-foot rule,
Right.
or it
And
wouldn't
not
be
from
a
building to
special
I
building.
mean,
plotted
this
under
is,
1,000 feet.
this is, what we've been given is 1,000 feet edge of property of a zoned residential, right? Which that is part of your motion?
1,000 feet from building to building.
No. Property line.
Or the property line's fine too. I'm okay with that.
Doesn't that cut you out?
The,
Well, that's
the,
what's left here, yeah.
the property line, not the zoning line. The property line.
The property line is the zoning line.
The property, so the
If you
property,
to get on
so the
zoning,
trailer park owns the whole thing?
take our
that-
zoning map and it goes to property lines and it doesn't, to go from building to building.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying we can craft it that way if we so choose, because that's what New Baltimore did.
The special
I don't
district,
think so.
If I can go
I'd
back
have
to that
read this
again. Is that part of the 1,000 feet, or you're talking about, so they could just plot somewhere a special district? I'm just trying to clarify.
No, I'm saying he would choose that special district,
The attorney would.
yes.
You're doing two things. You're doing 1,000 foot from building to building or a district. Is that-
I'm just saying if he needs to set up the district, then go for it. I just want to leave him that latitude to set up a marijuana district to keep them in a specific spot. If this opens up other areas by me saying 1,000 feet building to building that we may not want.
Okay. And then with that, he can provide us the details so that we can see what that equates to.
Yeah.
I guess I'll support that. I mean, just to get the ballot language, to get it out there. I think the people need to decide. If they don't want it, they don't want it. If they do, then you don't have to worry about, a ballot initiative coming in here and then we're screwed. Because we won't have any control. And that's what happened in Chesterfield, and that's the bad part. It's not an easy decision.
Can you read back the motion, Jason? I want to make sure I'm getting this. No.
Sure. He talks really fast.
Reread
You know,
it
he's-
again.
I can do it again. Direct the city attorney to craft actionable ballot language to allow dispensaries in the city with setbacks of 1,000 feet from building to building with respect to residential zones and from schools, churches, and rehab facilities, and establish specified marijuana zoning districts if needed to be put on the ballot.
And you're using the word actionable so that so that we can put it on the ballot.
So yes, so it's
Because if
obvious
it
that
was
we,
Right, if it was, what do you want, then you can't, that's what's against
But
the rules.
you're
to put
changing
on the ballot.
what we asked for in the beginning was from property line to property line.
you just asked
And
for
he
maps.
wants to go from building to building. In other words, he's saying
Those
New
are two
Baltimore
different
did that, and I hate to tell you that. The house is here, the residential house, their fence line is here, and that's where it is. It's not to the building, it's to the property line.
Just New Baltimore crafted theirs, building to building.
Okay.
Can you get that information too, what New Baltimore put together too, so?
Sure.
Great. Any other discussion?
I wish it specifically excluded production and grow houses.
Yeah,
I think that should be included.
Okay, yeah, I can amend my motion, allow dispensaries, but to not allow grow facilities.
Or production. They're two
Or-
different things.
Okay, or production facilities.
And then are we still gonna come back and vote on the crafted?
Yeah,
Ordinance.
the lawyer
This
would
is-
have to bring this back. And
You would need to.
still have
Right,
to-
yeah, this
He's not-
was,
okay.
this is
This
by no
doesn't do
means
anything
a,
more than write up a statement.
Right.
Okay.
right, write up something for us to understand, see, and vote on.
You would
Right.
need to, yeah, vote on it. It would also then have to be reviewed to make sure it could be placed on the ballot, so there's a whole review process there.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, so the last words in my motion to be put on the ballot, what does that mean?
You still have to go through a process, once you have an initiative locally, that it has to go through an election review process, county and state, to be able to make sure that.
Okay, so is that an improper wording at the end there?
I
or-
think it's fine the way that you put it. The intent is to have it on the ballot, but of course, you're subject to it being approved by other authorities to be
So
placed on
this
the
doesn't
ballot.
obligate us to put it on the ballot then?
I think your intention is to request it be put on the ballot, but you may have to make modifications based upon the framework from the county and the state.
They might not like the way it's worded.
Right, there's certain wording they'd look at to review. Your intention is to put it on the ballot, you just have to make sure that it meets the requirements for.
Okay, so we're just like evaluating those requirements and then getting it going.
Usually you submit it, it gets a review, and they make any recommendations of changes that need to be made. Usually it's legal framework, for wording and things.
It's a court procedure up at the county.
Yeah, county review, and then there's subsequently, I think there may potentially be a state review, but
And then they
it starts at the county.
If they don't like the wording, then it can go back and you can reword it.
They're looking to make sure it's clear and concise and doesn't
Yep.
violate any other provisions of statute from the ballot.
I think we need a support of the amendment.
Yeah, I'll support that.
All right, motion and support of the amended. Can you get a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Clausen,
No,
Commissioner Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
No.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Helfrich,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right.
Okay, moving on to item 10A, new business under action items. The Michigan Municipal League Workers' Compensation Fund renewal. Can I have a motion to approve the workers' compensation insurance renewal with the Michigan Municipal League Workers' Compensation Fund in the amount of $10,430?
I'll make a motion, we approve the workers' compensation insurance policy renewal for a total of $10,430.
support.
Motion and support. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Rourke,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosch,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Helfrich,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes,
motion carried.
Item 10B, the part-time at-will employment and service agreement for Mike Itrich. Can I have a motion to approve the part-time at-will employment and support services agreement as presented?
So moved.
Support?
Motion and a support. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosh,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Hilfrank,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
Commissioner Rory,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, item 10C, the request approval of contract for city treasurer, finance director, Katie Posey. And can I have a motion to approve the employment agreement between the city of Marine City and Katie Posey as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Support?
Okay, and discussion.
I'd just like to say, welcome. You got a hard road ahead of you for the mess you're walking into, but I appreciate you stepping up and wanting to come here and help us out. It's really a good thing. You know, you had a good resume, and we'll do whatever we can to support you.
Yeah, thanks, and welcome.
And anything city manager wanted to add?
Thank you. No, I agree with Commissioner Hendrick. Katie's very well qualified for this position. She has municipal experience, and you know, it's timing, and it was wonderful timing for us, and we're all in this together as a team. And soon, congratulations and welcome to the team when the vote's finished, I guess. So,
Yes.
Yeah, we expect it to take time. Yeah.
Can I roll call vote, please?
Mayor Vandembosh,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Hilfrank,
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen,
Yes.
Commissioner Rory,
Yes,
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
motion carried.
welcome.
Yeah.
welcome.
Right, to item 10A, under discussion items, the 300 Broadway bandstand usage and reservation recommendation. And that's Commissioner Ross.
Okay, so I handed out to the commission a recommendation of the Friends of City Hall. Now, the bandstand was paid for by donations collected by the Joint Operating Committee, which consisted of Friends of City Hall, the Pride and Heritage Museum, and the Historical Society. So all three, have voices in this, but really it's up to, it is now a city asset as it's on the park property there. But this was their recommendation. I'm not requesting that we make this actionable tonight. However, a couple of the things that have been bandied about, and please read over this, even our deputy clerk suggested that it could be run in a similar way to the way that Mariner Park is reserved right now. That can be, anybody's free to use it, so long as it's not reserved. The same would go for this. But if you would like to reserve that, and they do for things like the Friendsgiving run, and families will reserve it for reunions and things like this. But it is reservable. Michelle Goodrich presently handles the reservations for that, and the city's able to collect a little money for it. Now, obviously, if we get the grant, we cannot collect money for it, but a reservation system still seems like it would be beneficial, just so that, people aren't running others off and things like that. In speaking with Michelle, and forgive me if this was not your true intent, but she said it's really no problem to, run the reservation system for the Mariner Park as well as the bandstand. However, Scott, I have nothing to do with, what Michelle does or does not do, so that was only.
If she thinks it's manageable, yeah,
Yeah.
she can manage it.
What are we charging for Mariner Park? You know?
I am unsure.
I can't remember.
100 for residents and 150 for non-residents, I believe.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. These fees are a little bit on the high side. Even
Again, this was
you
a
can-
suggestion.
Okay, I'm just telling you that you can get the Lions Club all day for less than this.
Yeah. I'm not.
So I think, yeah, you'd have to reevaluate these fees, because for a 3-hour stint there, or a 4-hour stint on one, I think that's a little high.
I have a
But you brought that up already, that if you want to collect money for that, you're going to affect that grant.
Only
So
if we get the
If we
grant.
get the grant, yeah, which we'll
Yeah.
find out next month.
Okay.
If you get the grant, then
Yeah,
there's
I-
no fee.
I
We're
had
also-
just made that.
Yeah.
We're also checking to see if there may be an exception for outside properties that are not considered to be the building proper. So that may give us a reprieve. We're not sure, but we're trying to kind of make that argument
'Cause I
that,
think they included the whole darn park.
yeah, we're just, I know that there are other communities that have received this My Place grant that may have had some exceptions, so if there is,
Again.
we're going to try to get it.
If we get it, we'd be working with the grant manager, and they would be able to
Yep.
determine.
Whatever the rules
and
may be,
yes,
we'll follow.
We'll
Okay.
dot the i's and cross the t's. But just something to ponder. And the reason why this was brought up is because at the 300 Broadway committee meeting, Michelle specifically said that she got calls from a ton of people who were very interested in utilizing it, wanted to know how it could be reserved.
Right.
And, I think we should jump on some format, whether it be identical to what Mariner Park does or,
Well, I think that one there, I would change your dates here. You only got May 15th to September 15th, and when we do the Christmas thing, we do all sorts of stuff. People like it for Halloween, they like it for weddings at Halloween, they like it for, weddings all year round.
Yeah.
Some people like winter weddings. So, yeah, I would cut out that, or, come up with something a little different on that, because you could utilize it more. I don't know about the time slots here, too.
Yeah, I have a question about the time slots. Why 2 to 6 PM only? I mean, especially in the summertime, 4 to 8 or 2 to 8 or whatever you could reserve for, I would
Sure.
think, especially,
We have
I know you don't want it to be late because of us noise ordinance and all that, but I think 6 is a little early. Maybe 8, so people could enjoy the evening, or if they wanted to have a concert or something. You could think about that.
So anyway,
It's
so,
a suggestion.
yeah.
but
I-
even time slots. And then what if you wanted it for the whole day? I mean, things like that.
Well, yeah.
And do we have a specific ordinance, or I don't think that, it might not be an ordinance, but just if we have other rules regarding the Mariner Park, if we could dig those up, I don't know.
We have some reference in park, in ordinance for the park rules and things. So we
Okay,
can-
but I mean, that's the only one that I'm aware of specifically that's rentable.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we have some general park ordinance references, so we want to make sure those pair up and aren't, kind of competing against each other
I
either.
think you can rent the one out at King Road Park. I don't know if she's done that, but there's a big pavilion out there.
That is true. There's a
So,
pavilion.
yeah, I don't know if she's included the King Road Park too, because there's a pavilion out
Yeah,
there.
for some reason.
I mean, if you get an events
We did.
permit, then you're effectively kind of renting it, and that costs money, right? So that's something, but just that requires police, fire, sign off and everything else. It's a little extravagant, whereas Mariner Park is able to be reserved just with a simple thing. Online was suggested as well.
Well, I'll tell you who you could check with is East China, because they rent out their pavilions all over the place. They got pavilions in their park.
Yeah,
and
you might see what they
do
do.
theirs. We could look to see what they have, out of curiosity.
Yeah, it gives you more options, more times, more rental, if that's what you'll be able to do. The more dates and more times would be beneficial if you can rent it out. And you can until you get the grant or whatever,
Right.
so
Which, I mean,
you might as well take advantage of it, yeah.
yeah. We'll have our next meeting this month, and then we have, a month until our next meeting, so it would be good to take action on something next meeting, but no hard and fast rules here, but just suggestions and things to ponder until the next meeting.
Excuse me, Commissioner Ross?
Good start to work
But
on.
yeah, they definitely were pretty adamant about, no decorations that need to be stapled, nailed, et cetera, only
makes
things that
sense,
can be
yeah.
gently laced around it, no screws, tacks, or staples.
Duct tape.
No duct tape either.
Commissioner Ross, can you email this document to me? And then
Absolutely,
we can make
yes.
modifications off of all your hard work.
Yeah,
This is Friends of City Hall.
Yeah.
I am.
But I would check in with East
Thank you.
China. I know
Yeah,
they have a,
I took a note there too, compare their fees and their process.
Well, is the Santa Claus parade put on by the city?
well, the old Newsboys, we've picked it up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
And I know that we still had kids sitting on his lap in the chair in the,
yeah, we'll
And
probably
at
use it
10
again
o'clock.
this year. Yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah, we had a lot of
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
last
you
year.
know.
And Again, it was a suggestion. This is what, and even they said, this is just draft. This is what came off the top of Judy White's head. So, and I think a great first draft.
yeah.
So thank you for hearing me out. And again, I think it would be good to make this an actionable thing next meeting.
All right, moving on to item 10B, under discussion items, back to the discussion concerning community business development and promotion.
So Mayor, I just want to make sure from the commission, based on the earlier discussion at the workshop about trying to come up with strategy to help support local businesses in multiple areas of the community, to propose further discussion in a workshop format for us to try to put together, if it's my understanding, of some loose direction of potential incentives that are available at the state level, potential incentives that could be created locally by the city, and for us to be able to have additional discussion. And I would recommend that we also possibly consider having this as joint discussion with the CED committee as well, because I think they're trying to work in that direction and try to expedite how we can address areas, including the plaza that was addressed, Water Street, Parker, potentially King, and come up with strategies. Each are unique, each have individual needs, but then an overall, encompassing at least policy statement and intention of what we want to go forward on to help draw business, support business, and sustain business.
Yeah, I think, sorry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that if we're trying to do one thing, CED's doing another thing, and Chamber's doing another thing, I think that by combining, we could get more done, more accomplished.
I think a
with that.
consistent message
Yes.
is always helpful.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. If we all could come to the table with one or two really good ideas, that's, 14 great ideas, right? So we should be able to really figure some stuff out with that, as long as everybody's bringing something to the table. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right, and moving along now to item 11. We had no items removed from the consent agenda. Then on to 12, administrative reports. 12A, city attorney report. There's no city attorney. So on to B, the city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor, and Commissioners. Have a couple of items. Again, welcome, Katie. Looking forward to having you on board. Thank you for loaning Katie for us to have her on board, and thank you to your entire family. So we're really looking forward to it, and it's an exciting time. We'll support each other in the cause. Social district paperwork has been submitted to the state of Michigan, so we await a response back from Liquor Control Commission on that. We received notification from St. Clair County Parks that the proposed annual millage allocation of funds would bring about $21,000 to the city of Marine City. So there are some requirements that we need to provide some support documents and substantiation back to the county, and we're working on that process. And we'll have that in line, and I'm sure we'll put that money to good use in our park system. Want to thank the commission for the very good, a little bit over discussion in our workshop earlier, and we'll work diligently to continue moving forward on the things that have been addressed. And I know has been time consuming, but we certainly appreciate it, and looking forward to a little break in that action. And then I want to thank all of the organizations, participants, and volunteers for the Memorial Day Parade. I know that Jesse did a lot of work to put the pieces in, and then had a number of helpers and participants and city staff, and all of those that attended and truly paid homage to those that served and sacrificed for us to be here today. So we appreciate all those efforts, and it was a beautiful day to show Marine City in a great light. So that is all I have. That's a lot. Thank you.
Any updates on the Life Center property?
I have no updates for you at this point, but as soon as I have something, I'll be glad to share it with all of you. Yeah.
Anything else for city manager? Okay, moving on to 12C, reports from department heads. Do we have any additional department head reports? No? Jeff's gone? No?
Silence across the land.
And now we're at,
I think one ran out.
yeah, he did. Made it on us. So we're up to 13, commissioner privilege and liaison reports. I'd like to start with Commissioner Clausen, please.
Well, I have to apologize. I got email, and I read the email as we didn't get the maps yet, and I assumed, like the last time, we didn't have a meeting. I missed the meeting, and there was a lot of discussion on the planning commission stuff, and I'm gonna look closer at my emails, because I don't like missing a meeting. So And thank you for everything else.
Thank you. Commissioner Bryson?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Helfrich?
Had the CED board meeting recently. Some good stuff happening there. 2 different avenues of advertisement for the city will be going out. 1 brochure and 1 newspaper insert. So that is good. We need all the promotion we can get. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Ross?
Shout out to the Marine City Middle School Band, whose concert I'm sadly missing right now. Again, the Memorial Day Parade was absolutely wonderful. Jesse White, our mayor, and our chaplain said some wonderful things. It was a really cool ceremony, and the Marine City High School marching band, along with the 8th graders, really rocked it with the music. The bandstand dedication was really neat. Please go check it out whenever you get a chance. The band was absolutely astounding. Jimmy DeHano and the Henhouse Boys and my man Ty Evenson on guitar. And I got to finally jam with Kenny Rose, local legend. I got to play harmonica with him, so that was really, really fun. And welcome Katie and Jeff, who isn't here, but whose hand I've shaken many times just seeing him around town and everything else. He was at the dedication and the parade, so welcome, and that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Rohrig?
I'd just like to say welcome to Katie, and you seem to be a very brave person, so we look forward to working with you, and that's all I have. She looks like she can handle it.
Commissioner Rohrig? Or, I'm sorry, Henry?
All right. I want to thank Jesse White. We told him last year he had a hard time getting the whole Memorial Day parade thing put together, because he was always doing it by himself. So we told him this year, hey, you need some help, reach out. So he did, and because Jesse always does a wonderful job. So, but I'd like to thank everybody, because I went out, everybody stepped up, anybody that I asked for help sure stepped up. The police department did, the fire department, Marine City Lions, the DPW, Jackie at the corner grocery, her sister Debbie, she helped us too. Marine City Grill donated all the hot dogs, VG's donated all the buns. We had a lot of volunteers there that made that mess tent flawless. Jim was over there cooking. It just, everybody worked together. It was just nice to see. We had it all set up for him. We had it all, so he didn't have to do everything. And thank Denny Daniels for all the hard work he does to keep that area looking so beautiful all the time. He was there the day before cutting the grass and getting it all manicured, but it was just nice to see everybody worked together and it went flawless and everybody enjoyed their hot dogs. And I'm going to say this probably every meeting, thank you, Scott, for coming here and helping us out, because I'm telling you what, it's just a blessing, really, that you're coming here to help us with all the issues that we have, and I know we've put a lot on you, but you're handling it like a trooper, and we appreciate it.
Thank you all.
That's it.
All right, I just have a couple things. Again, welcome, Katie. And thank you for coming and joining us, and we're looking forward to a lot of good things. Varsity softball won the MAC Blue Championship. I guess they're sharing that title with Fraser, but they won that championship. The varsity soccer won the MAC Silver Championship. So a couple shout outs to them. Again, just like everyone else, thank you for everybody who helped with the Memorial Day Parade and the ceremony. Means a lot to everybody in the community for that. And then also I did want to announce that we have 3 local Boy Scouts from Boy Scout Troop 296 that will be getting their Eagle Scout Court of Honor on Saturday, this Saturday at the Perch Point Conservation Club. That would be Gordon Fields, Nathan Matevia, and Ryan Wiley. And that is very impressive to get that in the Boy Scout up to an Eagle Scout. So congratulations to them and thank them. And actually one of the projects that was done for that was that toy use and return at the beach. That was one of the projects
Toys, life jackets,
used.
yep.
Yep.
It's really nice.
For that. So thank you and congratulations to them, and I will see them Saturday at that ceremony. Okay. And with that, we're going to move on to